What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner. Of course, Josh from Box Office Banner, too.
What is going on?
Doesn't get to come on as much, and I know what you movie fans are thinking. Okay, let's go. But we're here to talk sports today. This is actually more of the old type of show we used to do called Do Back Sports. I've done sports randomly on here. I remember I covered like our fantasy drafts we did with some my buddies from the fantasy draft and just random shit once in a blue moon. But, I've kind of got the itch. I've been thinking about starting up a sports podcast again because I just as much love sports as I do movies. And who better to do that with than the guy I used to do a sports podcast with before he became a movie fanatic that y'all all know and love. So we're going to break down who we think's going to come out of the playoffs, man. Playoffs? Why is it? It's like an itch on your brain. You got to do it. Damn it.
These playoffs, I think, are shaping up to be
Spectacular.
an insane playoff. The matchups we got, especially first round,
I like them.
insane.
They're downright sexy.
But let's start AFC with the least sexy matchup, I think.
Really?
The 7 seed Steelers going to 2 seed Buffalo.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
TJ Wattless.
See, I got this backwards, but that's okay. We can roll with what you got. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. Because of the way the seeds, go over. Shouldn't be a problem. So that's cool.
Yeah, the TJ Wattless Steelers going into red hot Buffalo. I think this is going to be a blowout.
Really? Think so?
I think not Pittsburgh. Whew.
Yeah, I was like, Pittsburgh's blowing them out.
I think Buffalo completely handles them.
Yeah,
It's about like 17.
Red hot is a good way to put it. They have kind of came up, like not short because obviously they've won the games. But I feel like a lot of the games lately, they've looked like they've kind of stumbled into victories, but they've got it done. And that's what they weren't doing earlier in the season. So they're definitely red hot. The wins are coming in. I love Josh Allen. I hated the Bills until Josh Allen got there. Of course, I'm a Panthers fan. This guy's a Chargers fan, so we're in pain right now. But Sean McDermott used to be our defensive coordinator, and I think that's where my love of the Bills kind of started. And we'll see just how much I love those Bills here. But against the Steelers, man, and of course this is in Buffalo. Steelers are gritty. They're going to grind out wins. They always do that under Mike Tomlin. But I do think this is one of the worst on paper, talent-wise, Mike Tomlin teams have been in the playoffs, and as good as he's been, he doesn't really get wins in the playoffs, other than those runs with Big Ben, and even those, there wasn't as many as you'd think.
It's insane how good of a coach he is, because like you were saying, this is not a very talented roster. He's never had a losing season. Like that's. Yeah.
And they got outscored this year. I think like in every game they play, not outscored, out-yardaged or what was it? Or the total points. There was some fucking crazy stat with them that I know any other time. Do you know what I'm talking about? What in the fuck
like
was
total
it?
points on the season or something?
Yes.
They were outscored?
It was something like that. Or like, was it they didn't have any more? Maybe it was like 8 games through the season. They didn't have any more yards than their total opponent. There's something fucking crazy that doesn't make downright sense. We like to do these things on the fly. I should have looked into it. I thought I had the stat pulled, but apparently not, because now I'm over here second guessing myself, and I'm like, they have less win. What did I just fucking say? It doesn't make any sense, but the stat almost doesn't make sense. It's inconceivable. I'll see if I can find it, but yeah.
So, adding this on the fly.
Since
look at that. Sports betting just became legal, I say we go over our the money line and all that for this game too. So
go for it, man. I don't have these stats, but he's got
DraftKings has Buffalo by 9.5 points. You taking that, or are you taking Pittsburgh in the points? I'm taking Buffalo minus 9.5.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. There's something about, I feel like the way, they look pretty good in the end against Miami, but those couple games before then, it was like against the Chargers, and who else did they play? Maybe was it the Patriots? I think it was the Patriots. And it just was lesser teams, and they weren't quite blowing them out like I wanted them to. But at the end of the day, they're getting it done. But is that going to cover that spread, though?
9.5. Also, another thing to keep in mind is the weather.
Yeah.
The
Could keep it close.
Over-under is 35.5, which I'm going to take the under on that as well. But for it to be under 35.5 and them to win by 10 points, it's going to have to be like 24, 13.
I think the Bills will do it. I think they'll get the spread on that, actually. But I don't know. It's tough. Damn it. You put me on the fly with this one. I was not ready for these questions. I'm like, fuck, I didn't even break this down in my fucking head.
You still looking for that stat?
Yeah,
wanna
you can
move
go
on?
ahead. It's all good. We can jump into more shit.
So the next game, according to my phone, we got number 6 Miami going to number 3 Kansas City. We have so many storylines in these playoffs, and here's one of them:
For
Tyreek
sure.
Hill going back to his old team in Kansas City, which I think this game is supposed to be 0 degrees with like a negative wind chill factor. So I'm going Kansas City. Miami does not play good in the cold. There was some stat they're like 0 and
I mean, they're from Miami, right?
something when it's like under 20 degrees or something like that. So I'm definitely hammering Kansas City. I thought this game was going to be a lot closer, but once I saw that weather, I was like, I think Kansas City is going to control this.
Oh, for sure.
It'll
What's supposed to be
probably be-
0 degrees? One
Yeah,
of the
with like
coldest
a-
games in NFL history.
With like a negative something wind chill, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that sounds fucking horrible. All those people are just like, I love to play football in the snow. Not me, and I'm a cold weather guy.
Well, and-
That's gotta hurt getting slammed onto that fucking turf or whatever you want to fucking call it. Select the field. I forget what Kansas City has. That sounds fucking terrible getting slammed onto that.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, Kansas City, the team even came out and released a alert or something that said "Stay home."
Yeah,
Like it's going to
don't
be
do
too
this.
cold.
Do not
We want
do
you to
this.
support us, but stay inside.
The players are like, we're gonna fucking tackle each other. We're gonna throw each other to the ground. It's gonna be vicious hits. And a quick tidbit: I was right about the 8 games, and I think I got it all confused. But yeah, it was the first team in NFL history to have this result of making the playoffs despite being outgained in each of their first 8 games. That's fucking insane. Anyways, back to
Yeah,
this shit.
so I'm going Kansas City.
Yeah, it's hard. With the way Kansas City's been playing, dude, I mean, their defense is still on point, but their offense just can't seem to get it together. And I think the craziest part about this is their running game is better than ever. Like,
Yeah.
Pacheco's looking good. Not so much as good, with the passes in the flat out of the backfield with Jerick McKinnon. That kind of picked up a little steam before he got hurt. They're not quite as dynamic. And then you also, of course, what do you come to the Chiefs for? The fucking passing game. Can these receivers not drop balls?
Jesus Christ.
And that ball is going to be hard as shit in the cold. And is that going to bounce off their hands? Or maybe it makes it,
Well, fingers
like,
frozen too.
Yeah, I
You
don't.
ever jammed your finger when it's 0 degrees outside?
It's not fun.
Imagine
It is not
catching
fun.
a pass from Patrick Mahomes.
This might be blind faith, but it's also kind of like the Dolphins just don't look that good right now. And they really didn't look that great on the road all year, and they weren't good against plus 500 teams. Chiefs at home, 0 degrees, been there, done that. The passes they can complete, those little short, 5 to 10 yard dump passes to Kelsey. I trust him to catch those. I think there'll be enough plays like that and then to muck it up with Pacheco. I know Dolphins have the running game to also bounce back, obviously, but I think Chiefs can match it, especially in this weather with a few more big plays. And I just trust Mahomes in this situation more. It's hard not to, because I feel like as good as that Dolphins running game can be, I mean, that's crazy to think, but they're really more of a running team. They need those deep shots to take the top off of that fucking defense. And if they can't do that, maybe the running game gets a little more stiff too.
Is Jalen Waddle supposed to be back?
I don't know the answer to this.
That's
Again,
huge.
the on-the-fly shit.
That's
I
gonna be
thought he
huge for
was.
them.
I'm going to look it up. This time, hopefully, there's no porn on here when I go to look it up. Alright.
While you're looking that up, I'll go ahead with the spread is set at Kansas City minus 4.5. I was on the boat of Miami's going to keep this close, but once that weather report came out, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be right at a 3-4 point game, so I can really go either way. But I'm going to take Miami with plus 4.5 points.
So it's supposed to be for the Dolphins to lose by 4 or win by 4?
So the Dolphins can lose by 4 points, and you would still win that.
Okay, my bad. I'm trying to concentrate on this and this at the same time. I got the gist of it. You'd win the bet if the Dolphins
Lose by
lose
4.
by 4.
or less.
Yeah, dude, I do think it's going to be close to the weather, too, though. Why are these questions so fucking hard? Damn it.
These playoffs are going to be so good, dude.
I think it'll be. I think Kansas City's actually going to win this one, probably like a 17-14 type game. But I think Dolphins it's going to be one of those games where they're stuck for a while, watch this be completely wrong, and they make it interesting at the end and cut it to like a touchdown, but then they can't really get it done in the weather. So I'm going to take the Chiefs with the points on that one, I think.
All right, we got the over-under set at 43.5, which I think is really high for how cold this game's going to be. I think both teams are going to try to establish the run and keep the ball on the ground. So I'm going to take the under on those points as well.
Yeah. So it says that, according to this, that it's still up in the air if Waddle's going to play. And it says this was from 5 hours ago. So hopefully ProFootballNetwork.com is on their shit. And you really could just probably go to fantasy football, even though yeah, that's probably like the best bet. I actually even have a certain app that, it's the secret app. Yeah, I can't reveal that on here. I guess the fantasy season's over. One of you motherfuckers watching this might join my league, and I know you're in my league, and I don't even know if you know it, so I can't exactly say that. But yeah, I mean, according to that, it looks like Waddle is still just very much a question mark, man. And it looks like they got that. Yeah, it says today at 4:37, questionable for playoff opener with an ankle is listed as questionable. Saturday wild card. So
that's going to be huge for taking that top off the Kansas City defense. Like
yeah,
if it's only Hill out there, they lose the whole dynamic.
And they're going to give him his shots, especially in fucking KC.
Oh, yeah. They're going to try to get him.
If that just ain't working, like at what point is it just they abandon it and go to the run and more of a run and up kind of game? And then, I mean, maybe that's what gets Kansas City beat. Maybe they start to be like, okay, they're just going to run it now. And then they bring it out again. And then Hill beats them over the top. It feels like it has to happen at least once in Kansas City. I don't know, man. That's tough, but taking the Chiefs.
All right, next matchup, we got number 5 Cleveland Browns going to the number 4 Houston Texans. Who saw these two teams making the playoff?
Dude,
at the beginning of the year?
It's wild to think about. Just the thought of like the Browns, like even having a chance to make it to the Super Bowl too. I mean, that's just blowing my mind. I mean, you look at it on paper and it's just how good they were without any quarterback play, and now Flacco just. I mean, this is Fluco. Like, where did this fucking come from? And now he's over here balling, and it's just like, damn, now they got a QB? When does, the top fall out of that? That's been a really weird one to watch, man. I've been mesmerized by it, and I thought it might against the fucking Jets because he finally faced a good secondary, and he had, like, almost 300 yards in the fucking first half. Now, granted, he only had, like, 18 in the second half, but he didn't really even need to fucking throw it. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, like, once the lights go on him, but he's been here before. Not at this age, but he's been here before. I don't know, man. This is a tough one. Who are you picking? I mean, I know who I'm picking, but I'm interested in hearing who you're picking.
This is one of my favorite matchups of the first round.
Yes,
so fucking intrigued by this, and this is, I think, the biggest toss-up in the first round. You could say defend this team and why they're going to win, and I could give you an argument. And I've been picking the Texans. I told you the Texans originally.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought you said, but I couldn't remember exactly.
But with looking at the matchups for the next round, if Cleveland wins, Joe Flacco goes back to Baltimore.
Yes.
And I think that's what the NFL wants to happen. Not that the NFL's rigged or anything.
What do you say? What do you say? I'm going to sound the exact same.
I think Cleveland's going to pull this one out. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be very entertaining. I think Joe Flacco continues his hot streak at least for one more game, and they're going to beat the Texans in a close one.
They just beat the Texans at the end of the year, too, I believe. I'm pretty positive. But they didn't have C.J. Stroud in that game, so that definitely changes things. I'm not going to, sweep that under the rug. C.J. Stroud has murdered it, and I'm going to fucking come out and say, I don't agree with it being fixed, but yet there is something to say about the way, just if you really pick games in terms of, is it their time yet? Does this matchup need to go a little further? Because it's more storyline, it's more textbook. And I do feel like that when I'm looking at this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Texans won at all. But looking at it, the matchup against the Ravens. Also, Stroud. They've overachieved. It feels like this is where they test the waters and they come back next year, maybe even have a down year next year, but then come back again. Not saying they will have a down year, but
that's the Lions.
That's the story, the storyline for me. And C.J. Stroud, for all intents and purposes, won a playoff game last week to get in against the Colts. I feel like that's his moment. This moment right now is Flacco's moment, at least for a little bit longer. And I feel like that'll be the difference. I'm not even diving into stats, who's better with this, and that. Even though you could definitely still argue the Browns, it just feels that is the trajectory of this game. I would pick the Browns in this one if I had to choose. But on paper, I think it can be a closer matchup. And it really depends who Stroud has back that he's throwing to. I don't know if Noah Brown's going to be back. Dalton Schultz, I believe, should be out there. He played last week.
Nico Collins has been killing it.
Nico,
man.
he's been murdering it, but there's no real receiver, too, after Tank Dell got hurt. And Noah Brown, when he's got more reps, has really shown up. But Noah Brown didn't play the last game of the week, so I actually might need to look that up. I don't even know for sure if he's playing. That was a question mark that really made me lean towards the Browns. He's listed as questionable right now. Yeah, I mean, we don't know if he's even going to fucking play. If Noah Brown doesn't play, I'm definitely picking the Browns, and I'm going to pick the Browns regardless, but CJ's going to need that guy to be out there because when he's got opportunities, it's number 2. He's shine bright.
Like a diamond. So we got Cleveland -2. Man, like I said, this is a toss-up. So I'm going to stay away from the spread in my personal betting, but if I was, I would think I would take Houston +2 just because I think they could just as easily win this as Cleveland. But
yeah,
overall, I think I'm going to stay away from that spread.
So even though you didn't pick the Texans, it's worth the risk betting on it.
+2. Like,
yeah,
they could lose by 1 point and you still win your bet.
Yeah. That's a weird one, though. It's like a logical thing versus what you would actually pick because you picked the Browns. I don't really even know how to answer that.
That's why I'm staying away from it, though. Like,
yeah.
I'm more on the over-under.
Yeah.
I'm taking the over-under is 44.5, and I'm going to go under.
I think I'm going to roll with you, though. I think I have the same type of mindset. I guess it just kind of depends on how you would approach it. But, I mean, logically speaking, if I'm putting my money down, I probably would risk that because it's not. I mean, like I said, this could go either way. It's not a bad bet.
And then, I'm going under 44.5 points. Both these teams have very good defenses.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a rather low-scoring game. So, I'm taking Houston plus the points and under 44.5.
Nice.
So that is the first round of the AFC. We want to go all the way through the AFC or go to the NFC wild card?
I say go NFC.
All right, let's do it.
Switch it up, build the anticipation, make our way back.
First matchup, we got the McCarthy Bowl.
Oh,
Green Bay, number 7 seed, going to Dallas to face the Cowboys. Another one of these headline stories, the McCarthy Bowl.
Yeah.
Who you got?
I'm so interested in these Packers, dude, even though I can't stand the Packers. But Jordan Love, man, he started off the season
good.
red hot, then kind of hit a lull. And then ever since really like that Lions game where they won on the road, even when they've lost, he's been fucking automatic. He's even got that little bounce up and down, dude, like Aaron Rodgers had. That when he does that, it's like LeBron when he does the look at the ball thing and then brings it in. He's going to drill the 3 every time. This is like, as soon as Jordan Love starts bouncing like that, you know he's over. Throw a fucking dart. And what he's done, like with all these young guys and all, I mean, let's just stop it there. Like Christian Watson, who's also fucking young, mind you, who's been in and out.
He's their veteran receiver.
Yeah, it's insane. It doesn't seem to matter. Now you got Bo Melton coming on. Like it doesn't seem to matter who you put out there. This offense and Jordan Love is getting it done. But I use the word young, and again, the storylines and all that shit. You could say America's team, but yeah, that doesn't really matter. They fucking blow it every time. That's been the storyline. That's been the fix is in, if you will. But I think it's a great story. I think that story ends here, though, at the end of the day. I don't think Green Bay is going to beat them. And objectively, even though they seem to, at times, be able to just I don't even think it's at times. They can really be just as hot as the Cowboys, especially down the stretch, how good they've played. When they're on fire just like the Cowboys when they get on fire. But I'm going to trust that experience in this one. I have to.
I mean, I'm going Cowboys too, although I think Green Bay keeps this close. And
it could be a shootout.
If there is an upset in the first round, I would choose Cleveland. Green Bay over Dallas. I think they're the one team.
Cleveland's going to come into the conference. That's a bold team. That's a bold choice.
Could make a big upset here. I would not be shocked, but I am going to go Dallas. To win this game.
Same wavelengths. We're going to pick the exact same teams.
But we got Dallas is favored by 7 points, so I'm taking Cleveland and the points here.
Cleveland again.
Did I say that again?
Yes, you're stuck, dude. You're stuck. It happens,
I'm on
man. It happens. It's been a while since you recorded.
I'm taking Jordan Love and the Packers plus 7 points. Also, the over-under for this game is 50.5 points.
Oh, my God.
So they're expecting this to be a shootout, 25.
Yeah, I was thinking it's gonna be like 34-30 in my.
So you're taking the over?
I think so.
Are you taking Dallas -7 or Green Bay +7? I'm also not shocked if Dallas wins by 24 points.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like,
got to go the way like I predicted the win. So yeah, whatever the fuck that is, this over under shit confuses me sometimes because I never bet.
we can move on then.
Yeah, but
My most anticipated NFC matchup, the Los Angeles Rams going to Detroit to face the number 3 Lions. Matthew Stafford going back home.
will we finally disagree?
Goff used to play for the Rams. Like, just the storylines in
it's
this
great.
first round is insane. Again, this is another one that I'm pretty up in the air on.
It's
Although I think the Lions are going to get it done here.
yeah.
I think this is the year they're going to win a playoff game. They're going to advance to the next round. And I hate that for Matthew Stafford too, because I love Matthew Stafford. But
Stat Padford just got him his Super Bowl though.
true.
But I think that's what's so easy to forget is literally they were so bad last year. Although some of it was injuries, but even like when they kicked off the season, when there was no injuries, like the first few games, they looked garbage. Allen Robinson was supposed to be that number 2 to Cooper Kupp, and it just did not work. And I was fooled too. I was like, he finally got out of that shit show he was in. He's gonna ball here. No, Allen Robinson just has not been the same since he was like on the Bears and the fucking Jaguars. But it just didn't work. And it's so easy to forget, not last year, year before, they won the Super Bowl. And the last, I don't know, however many games, like, they've been winning, like, nonstop. I'd like to look at what their last, like, 6 games are. I know they lost, what did they win? They beat San Fran, didn't they? I think they beat San Fran with Carson Wentz starting. I want to say they came back and won that game. I forgot to look at that score because just the matchup wasn't as important because you had the backups out there. But the only game that they might have lost in like their last 6 games was at the Ravens. And it took the Ravens, who many people think are the best team in the NFL, returning a punt with their backup punt returner in overtime to beat them. They have been on an absolute tear. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl again, but I'm saying don't forget how good this team can be when they're right. I love Sean McVay. And you can see the storylines going either way here, but I got to pull the upset here. Some upsets got to happen in here. I got to have a few right, at least a couple. And I could see it going just like, that's right. The people they wrote off, Jared Goff, who obviously they shouldn't have because he's been fucking amazing. I mean, it's worked out for him, but they treated him like he was just a dud. And he comes back. They fucking upset that team. It's perfect for him. But I can also see the other way, and that's the way I'm going to go with, where it's just like, yeah, but they're not going to beat the Lions. Lions look like shit 1 out of every 4 games, it seems like. But the other 3 games, they look like the best fucking team in the NFL. They're not necessarily due for that kind of game because the week before last, they had one of those. But I could see, like pressure. Oh, my God, we're the Lions. I could see this going the Rams' way, and I'm going to choose that, man, because, they're just as hot.
So, yeah, the Rams' last couple games, they beat the 49ers by 1. They beat the Giants by 1. They beat the Saints by 8. They beat the, almost said Redskins, Commanders by 8. Then they lost to Baltimore by 6, like you said.
In an overtime punt
They
return.
beat Cleveland by 17.
That's a good win.
They beat the Cardinals, and then they beat Seattle.
So
and
that
stops right there.
How many games is that?
I think it's 7 of their last 8.
I told you, they're on. I don't think people realize how on fire that team is right now. I think that's going under the fucking radar. I don't know if you even realize that.
yeah,
but that's what I was talking about. Or you maybe had a sense. Like they seem like they've been playing good, but they're on fire.
Yeah,
Imagine
they've
that
been
record.
On a tear.
Imagine, what was that, 7-1? Imagine if they started out the year that way. You'd be like, this my team might go to the Super Bowl. They're 7-1. They've had some close calls, but man.
Let's give it up for Puka, too.
Yeah, dude.
What was he drafted?
I was hoping you'd say something about him.
Yeah, I picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues, and he absolutely worked it for me.
Breaking records, dude.
Yeah.
I hated that as a Cooper Kupp owner, though.
I had Cooper Kupp, too, in one of my leagues. But,
start them both, yeah. But there's games where Kupp would disappear because Puka's that fucking good, dude.
He looks like he's here to stay. Like, it's not just a flash in the pan type of thing. I think he's that good.
Well, let's talk about the other guy. Kyron Williams is fucking insane. Kyron Williams finished 2nd in rushing, I believe. And he missed like 5 games or 4 or 5,
4,
at least 4, because you got to miss at least 4 going to IR. And he still was right there. They have a running game. They got a passing game. Defense has its moments. Rams could do this, man.
This game could go either way.
It's going to be fun to watch with the storylines.
I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, and you chose Lions, didn't you?
I'm going Lions, but again,
Lions, yes. Okay, we have our first disagreement. Love it.
Where is okay? Here it is. It's the Detroit Lions are favored by 3 points in this game.
Really?
So, if I'm a betting man, I'd probably take the Rams +3 just because this is one of those 50-50 games for me. Over/under is 51.5 points, so they're expecting a shootout.
Yeah.
At Ford Field. I'd probably take the under on that, honestly, though. The under and the Rams +3.
Yeah.
Last matchup of the wild card, we have the number 5 seed Eagles, who have been, some may say, ice cold, versus the number 4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who you got here?
I don't like the way the Bucs have looked the last 2 weeks, and they haven't been an elite team really to begin with. They're in my fucking division, NFC South. Somebody had to win that type of division, and I think they're going the wrong direction too, even though they were never highly touted. But they had a little bit of a spurt there that made them look like a playoff team. But they beat Carolina, my team. That's not a big feat. They won like 9-0 or some shit. Did not look good in that game, and then they fucking got their asses just kicked, I think, by the Saints, who was probably the better team, if I had to say, if they could have got in.
I would say so.
When they're clicking, I think they're better. But, I mean, Mayfield's a good story. You could definitely see them beat them because they're at home, because they won the division. But the Eagles, man, I think you have a case of here why they fell off, and they're going to rectify this, I think, in the playoffs a little bit, is you got these older cats looking at these younger cats, and then the other people that maybe don't take everything as serious. If you remember earlier in the year, they were winning, but they're always down by double digits, and they'd come back. And I bet you, the Jason Kelce's of the world and people like that were in that locker room in their ear, kind of telling them, like, hey, man, like, that's going to come back to bite us. We need to be more locked in. And it probably was like, about the feud, but they were winning. And winning, changes a lot of things, makes a lot of things better. And then out of nowhere, it bit them in the ass. And they're like, okay, it was a good team. Let's calm down. Then they lost to a bad team. And I bet there was a feud in that locker room. Like, what did I fucking tell you, man? What did I tell you? And I think that is the disconnect right now, if I had to guess, is I bet them veterans are fucking just talking shit. And then the locker room's just not as, in tune. And I think what we're going to see, this is all hypothetical, but this is just would be my guess. I think what we're going to see is come playoff time, teams either go the other way, it's like, okay, we just completely flamed out, we're done, or they lock in like, look, we might have had our problems in here and out there, but we can lock in, we still have a chance, let's be the Eagles again. And I think that's what they're going to do in this game. And I think they might have even tried that against the Giants, but there was a lot of injuries with, A.J. Brown, fucking Jalen Hurst finger got fucked up. Is he even going to be right in this game? Like, there's a lot of questions, but I think the Eagles are going to lock in, especially against an inferior opponent where they got a pretty good draw, and I think they're going to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are 100% the more talented team here, and they should be able to get this done. But speaking of them being ice cold, their last couple games, they lost by double digits to the Giants. They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to they beat the Giants.
Barely.
They lost, barely. They lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Cowboys. They lost to the 49ers. And the two before that, they beat Buffalo and they beat Kansas City.
Yeah, so those were comeback
two
wins.
solid wins, and then they just have not looked good since then.
I think that's what happened, man. 49ers beat the shit out of them, and all the veterans and the people are just like, this is why we got to take this shit serious, and then that's why they're losing to bad teams now. I'm not in the locker room, but that would be my guess. This is a chance at a restart.
Yeah, I don't want to say they get it back on track. I think they squeak this win out. I don't think they look good the whole game. I think we might see flashes of, is this the old Eagles?
Yeah.
And the Bucs are just that kind of, I feel, resilient team. They're not going to go away. I think they're a well-coached team.
Yeah.
They'll stay in it and kind of make a little comeback, but the Eagles are too talented across the field, and they're going to squeak this out at the end. 4 or 5 point win for the Eagles here, I think.
Got you.
Just to keep up with it. Spread is Eagles -3 and over under 44 points. I'm going to take the Eagles -3. I'm going to take under 44. I think this will be a rather low-scoring game. I don't think this will be a shootout, in my opinion.
I could see it.
So now we move on to the divisional round where, other than the Rams-Lions, I think we picked the exact same, so we should have mostly the same matchups.
Yeah.
So we got the number 5 Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco going back to Baltimore to take on the #1 Ravens, who have looked completely dominant the last
They have
all season.
Mm-hmm.
Who you got here?
Does
the Flacco
I'm
story
choosing
continue?
the upset. I am. I think this storyline is perfect. Again, it sounds fixed, but another thing I want y'all to keep in mind: just a couple years ago, or whatever it was, when the Ravens got the #1 seed to advance, they rested their starters, and it came back to bite them in the fucking ass. They just did that again. I could see all over this broadcast being like, the Ravens, they didn't learn from their past mistake. This was kind of like Lamar's MVP year all over again. He might get it. A lot of writing on the wall is the same here. I mean, I think they're that dominant. Don't get me wrong, but I think they could fall asleep, and maybe there's some Flacco magic against his old team or just enough to survive another week. I don't really trust Lamar in the playoffs yet. He hasn't shown me that. That doesn't mean I don't think he can perform, but that is a factor going into this game. He could easily, maybe just not be a playoff guy. He could end up not having a good game here. That is definitely possible. I hope he proves me wrong. I wouldn't mind seeing the Ravens advance, but the storyline of Flacco not being 100% sold on Lamar in the postseason specifically yet. I do think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And after that game he had last week, I do think he should get the MVP, or the week prior, I should say. But I have a feeling they're going to do what they did last time. Like, they rested players, then the bye week happened, 2 straight weeks off, and then you got to be fresh. I think it's going to come back to bite them again. I really think the Ravens are going to lose this one in a tight game for those reasons. I'm picking it, man.
They're like, them and the 49ers are the 2 Super Bowl favorites right now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That would be huge for them to lose. And as crazy as it does sound, I can absolutely see it happening. I would not be shocked at all if Flacco goes in there and gets the win. Like, the storyline is going to write itself in that situation. But I'm going with the Ravens. I think they are too good all around. The Browns' defense is great, but can they slow down Lamar in this offense? Zay Flowers has looked like a stud.
And Dalvin Cook.
They just signed Dalvin Cook.
Dude, what's that going to be? How much involvement is he going to
have? But I saw some stat. Zay Flowers is the first rookie receiver to lead, I think it was like a #1 seed in receptions and yards in a season or something like that. That's never happened. And he has been absolutely dominant.
That's cool, yeah.
Chargers passed on him and took fucking Quentin drops still, but
yeah,
I digress. I'm gonna go Ravens here in a very close game. I think this is gonna be a tight matchup, low scoring. Those AFC North games always seem to be like almost like a WWE match. Dude.
And
like
against the
grit.
tough defensive teams, man, Ravens have had problems at times. They lost at the Steelers, not this past game where it was at Ravens. They lost at the Steelers earlier in the year, and another one of those, muck it up, out yardaged, all that shit. Game got tight at the end. TJ Watt stripped Lamar. If the Browns can, that's the thing. I am all in on this damn Ravens defense. I think it's that good, but I think the Browns defense is that fucking good too.
Legit.
So then it comes down to Flacco versus Lamar, and Flacco's playing like his old self, the storyline. So I'm doing it. I gotta say, dude, I think this has got upset written all over it. Obviously, it wouldn't be surprising if the Ravens won. They're the better team, but Browns could definitely do this, man.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Then we got the numbers one. Dyslexic,
You need to record more.
I got the #3 seed Kansas City Chiefs going to the #2 seed Buffalo Bills.
It's tough.
2 teams that are used to the cold. This in Buffalo, it's going to be a cold game. I can almost guarantee you. Both teams going to want to keep it on the ground, which that's an interesting thing with both of these teams in the past being aired out teams.
Yeah.
Both of their run games have never looked, I don't want to say never, in recent memory has not looked better.
With,
James Cook
Josh Allen,
and
Patrick
Pacheco,
Mahomes.
Yeah, they've been these aired out, we'll throw for 300, 400 yards. Now they're teams that are confident keeping it on the ground with the running backs that they have.
With QBs that can run too, which they've always been able to do, but it's just another dynamic, which running game is going to get me. Is it going to be the quarterback? Is it going to be the fucking running back? Obviously, Allen does that more, but Mahomes has been running more than I've ever seen him this year. So, I mean, it's going to maybe come down to the ground game.
Dude, that's the crazy thing to say. Kansas City versus Buffalo.
How is that possible?
Runs it more.
How is this possible?
Which I think Buffalo gets this win. I think they keep their red hot streak going.
Too.
I think their ground game, Josh Allen, he's got to play smarter.
Yeah.
What game was it? A couple games ago, he just made it might have been the
He
Miami
does it,
game.
man.
I'm like, why are you throwing that? He just throws it up and it's intercepted.
There was one play, though, if it was the Miami game, where he chucked it up in the end zone to Gabe Davis. And it was the dumbest throw I've ever
Gabe
seen.
went the other way.
No, this is a different one, but I know what you're talking about. But this one, he fucking just chucked it up to Gabe Davis. And even the announcers were like, that's a terrible throw. Why would you throw that? But I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, it's a dumb throw, and you would never throw that. But it was 4th and 10 at like his 45, and then it got picked. And then it was at the 20
like
instead of 45. But like, and I had people at work just like, yeah, did you see that one dumb throw? I'm like, that actually was a smart one. If you really break it down.
I remember that. The other one where I think it was Gabe Davis too, and he ran like a slant and went inside, and he threw it where he was standing, and the defender just didn't have to move his feet. It was right into his arms in the end zone. But he's got to play smarter. I think if he does that
in the playoffs. Yeah.
But I think this will be a close game, low scoring rather than high scoring, like you would expect.
Yeah.
It gets both teams right around 20 points.
Man.
But I got Buffalo going to the conference championship.
I got Buffalo too, man. I
That's
just
crazy.
Think about it, man. If this, at the end of the day, even with fucking Allen throwing the picks, this has been Mahomes' worst year. Like we just talked about with the drops. I don't think all of it's really on him. A lot of it is the drops, but it's not like he's playing the best version of Patrick Mahomes. It's hard to count out Pat Mahomes in this situation because we've seen it so many damn times. Other than that one game against Brady in the Super Bowl, he was terrible. But other than that, he's been pretty money in the playoffs. But I think the biggest factor that you definitely have to take in consideration too is the fact that they wrote the Bills off. They've been fucking, like singing their praises, even when maybe they shouldn't. Like, Josh Allen's so good. And that finally turned on them. And I think that fueled a fire to make them say, like, maybe this window is burning out. Maybe we need to take this more serious. I think this is going to be a better Buffalo team than we've ever seen. And I really think that, more than anything, people need to really be thinking about what just happened a few years ago when Pat Mahomes beat Josh Allen, essentially, because that's what it feels like. It feels like Josh Allen versus Pat Mahomes, let's be honest. In a duel at the end of that game, dude, you remember when they lost in the fucking overtime?
That was one of the best games I've ever watched.
And it was 4 possessions, including overtime, in like a minute and 30 seconds. It was like 4 straight bombs, basically. Maybe there was a throw or two in between there to where it was just improbable. How in the hell are these touchdowns? And then a coin toss changed everything.
It changed the way the overtime, like they changed the rules in overtime because of that game.
Yeah, that's how fucking big it was. But you think for one fucking second that Josh Allen isn't thinking about that right now, the Bills aren't thinking about that. This is the revenge game, dude. They got their chance again. Plus, everybody's wrote them off. I think Bills get this done, especially against a Chiefs team that just doesn't look as good as it has in the past. I wouldn't doubt them in the playoffs given that, but who they're going against and the situational, of a situation of it all with the Bills needing revenge, I got to choose Bills here.
Well, and another thing with the Bills, one of their best players hasn't been showing up, and that's Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
he doesn't have over 80 yards since week 6. That's the last time he put up over 90 yards. He's had an 86-yard game and an 87, but he's also got 6 games under 40 yards receiving.
Yeah,
that's one of the best receivers in the league,
bizarre.
And he's not been showing up. Whether it's him or whether it's Allen getting the ball, play calling, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
One of the most dynamic receivers is not getting the ball.
And Trevon Diggs was calling him out for not giving the ball in Buffalo. So is he going to maybe be a head case if things don't go well? Or is it he's due for a game? Or is it they've just fucking really became a running football team and Diggs now with some wins really accepts that. So, I mean, you never know though, man. Wide receivers are divas, and Diggs definitely has some diva in him.
He definitely does. He's going to be requesting trade after
this year. What if they're down early, 14-0, and you got Diggs on the sideline like, get me the ball. Like, it could be bad.
Very well.
But still taking Buffalo, yeah.
Both got Buffalo there. So then we move over to the NFC, which we're going to have different matchups. I've got the number 5 Eagles going to the number 1 San Francisco 49ers. Eagles trying to get that revenge. There's that headline. I think they keep it a little closer, but the 49ers are just such a complete team. It's kind of insane to look at the talent that they have on that team, and it's like, how did you make this work? Like with the cap space and all that.
Yeah.
And adding Chase Young to that roster. I was like, how did they just do that?
Some
What
of these
is going
teams just
on?
have it all. I don't get it. I don't understand cap space enough, apparently, because just when I think I do, I'm just like, I don't know what you're doing. The sorcery does not work for my team.
So the big thing and the reason why they're able to do this is they're not paying their quarterback right now. Brock Purdy, I think, has like a $500,000 contract for like 3 years or something.
And I'm
like
sold
that.
on him now.
There
I wasn't
are-
at first, but I am.
There are so many, and this is crazy to think of, college athletes that are making more money than Brock Purdy with NIL
crazy.
deals and stuff like that.
You know,
which is
he's got the
insane.
best like deep ball percentage in the league.
I did not
Like,
know
and
that,
everybody
but
thinks
that
he's
doesn't
thinking
surprise
dunk.
me.
Like, if you've watched him, he's pinpointing balls this year, dude.
He's got a great receiving core. That defense is one of the best in the league. I think the 49ers get this done, and they hand the Eagles a loss.
Yeah, and guess what? That's revenge too. They didn't have a quarterback. They had to fucking have. They had
In the
they had to
playoffs,
run it
yeah.
to come back. You think they're not thinking about that? That's not my matchup though. But I would choose the same. I have the 49ers against the Rams. As much as I just talked up the fucking Rams and how much I love them, and they're hot right now. Those Rams are so hot right now. The 49ers are just clicking on all cylinders. I know they just lost to the Ravens, but the Ravens can do that to you for sure. And we saw the fucking 49ers. They lost like 3 straight games in the middle of the year. They couldn't figure it out. But when they locked back in, they looked great. They were due for another bad game. I think at home, this is a no-brainer, even though the Rams are a lot better now. I think 49ers are just going to be a well-oiled machine in that game, and they're going to be able to get it done over the Rams for sure.
And then my next matchup is the number 3 Lions versus the number 2 Cowboys.
That's probably tough.
Makes
for you.
me think of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
how couldn't you? That's the 2 Thanksgiving teams. I don't know why the Lions
Yeah.
get to watch their teams, suck until recently, but
Um,
now they get to enjoy it.
There's another game that I've been going back and forth on,
I would too. That's a tough one.
and I'm going Cowboys. I think a lot of people are going to pick against them
Cowboys?
because of they can't win the playoffs and everything. I think they get their shit together this year. And I think this is one of those games that the Lions, like you said, 1 in every 4 games, they just don't show up.
This
And
is
I
the
kind of
one.
feel like this is a game they don't show up
Yeah.
in. They don't. This team is very young. They're newly amassed, newer head coach. I don't think they have that experience. I think this is the year they get knocked out and think, okay, let's regroup, come back next year. I think the Lions are going to be a much more formidable force
Yes.
next year. They need that
It's
learning
not quite
experience.
their time yet.
And I think the Cowboys teach them a lesson here, and they get that win.
Please don't, though. I do not want to hear the Cowboys fans.
Cowboys
like,
fans, yeah.
America's team. Also, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm not for sure, but we could just go completely black. We're not doing blackface. That's not a skin tone thing. The camera will overheat sometimes when it runs this long, but you will still be able to hear us. So if that happens, I do apologize. We're in that kind of vein, or that realm of when that happens. So we'll see. My matchup here is Eagles and the Cowboys. And Cowboys just beat the Eagles at home, but this was during the Eagles' downslide. I think the Eagles, and after getting a little bit of confidence, and I'm not saying they're completely back either. I'm not going to go there yet. I'm not going to reveal that where they go. Don't necessarily take that verbatim. But I also, again, how could you? You can't really trust the Cowboys in the playoffs. I think Eagles, at least in this situation, just going off of it on the merits of getting a win under their belts. Now I'm taking this as if my first round is goes the way I think it does. Obviously the win, but in terms of the locker room camaraderie, they get a bit of that back. The veterans, everybody's just this is how it's done. If we keep playing like this, I think they can go into Dallas, especially after, teams that are definitely at least evenly matched, rolling with momentum. You got to beat them 2 straight times. That's going to be tough. I'm going to pick Eagles over Cowboys in this one, even though the Cowboys look a little better right now. But let's not forget how bad the Cowboys have looked against great teams.
Yeah.
They played the Eagles and they beat them, and that was a good moment for sure. But this is Eagles on their downside. Now, Eagles might still be on their downside, but with my predictions, I think this is an Eagles team that's picked up a little bit with a win, and Cowboys in the don't choke it mode. There's a little more pressure being a Cowboy. So I'm going to choose Eagles over Cowboys on the road.
And then we get into our conference championship games. AFC, I've got the number 2 seed Bills versus the number 1 seed Ravens. I think it's going to be a great game. The Bills are on that up and up. They've been red hot. I just think the Ravens are better. I think defensively They'll be able to hold Josh Allen in check. They'll force him into some mistakes like he so easily does. And then the Ravens, they can run the ball with the best of them, and their air game is better than I think a lot of people give them credit for.
Yeah.
I think this is the year, like you were saying, you don't trust Jackson in the playoffs. I think this is a year he proves that he can win those games. He can perform in crunch situations. I think this game will come down to like a last drive. Whichever team has the ball last, they got to push down field goal to win it. Which Justin Tucker is fucking automatic. I'm going Ravens here. I think they squeak this one out. It'll be a one-possession game.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And I don't necessarily not trust Jackson in the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me if he balled out all playoffs long. I just haven't seen it yet. So that's why it's a problem for me. But honestly, I'm going to give you this. I would actually have Ravens over Bills. I like that matchup. But I just, for some reason, I'm on that Brown train with that specific matchup. So that would mean Browns over Bills, right? And mine. It actually doesn't, because I think
matchups.
The Flacco thing does have a shelf life. I think they're going to ride the high of just like, that's their Super Bowl. We beat the Ravens for Joe Flacco, and Bills are coming back in motivated again, like they wrote us off, and we are on a fucking mission. We finally had the motivation. Sometimes you need to be kicked down. I was somebody that chose this team to go on a deep run. I think we just had the fucking overheat thing happen. Enjoy that. We're back, and then we're gone again. It does that. But I got to go Bills over Browns for that reason, and I think it's time. It's time. It's a time thing. It feels like, especially with the way my bracket's playing out, or whatever you want to call it, for the good look heading up to the Super Bowl, that's just Josh Allen's time. If not now, when will it ever happen type of deal. I think he outduels Joe Flacco, and he goes into the Super Bowl, and everybody's just thinking, maybe we wrote them off too soon. Like, I can just hear it already. So, Bills over Browns. They're heading to the Super Bowl, but who will they face, and who will Josh's opponent face?
So my NFC Conference Championship game is the Cowboys, number 2 seed, going to the number 1 seed 49ers. I got to go 49ers. I think they handle the Cowboys. I don't like. This is where the Cowboys choke. 49ers win 45-14 type of a game. 49ers are too complete. Running game, passing game, running defense, passing. Like, they're a complete team.
Yes.
49ers win this game easily and head to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the Cowboys fans are like, but we the boys. And I just realized I kind of gave away something. I was like, if I had your semifinal, I would definitely choose 49ers over Eagles, not even thinking my fucking conference finals is 49ers over Eagles. So, like, you already know the answer to that. 49ers, more complete team. As much as I'm saying the Eagles are back on track, they're back on track enough to beat a Bucs team, and then to kind of have the camaraderie, not quite like they had last year. I just think they were playing with house money. Teams were scared of them. They were coming back from double-digit leads, and they kind of got exposed for what they really are. But enough to be back to where the Cowboys are like, don't choke this away in the semifinals. Oh, my God, it's the big, bad Eagles. We have more pressure on us. They just won last week. Eagles are playing with that feeling like, yeah, we are back. And it ends up being false hope. Like, the rest of the world kind of thinks that after the Cowboys game, but then they go into the 49ers, who they got blown out by, I believe, at home as well. Now they're on the road, and I think 49ers humble them. They're like, yeah, you weren't quite back. You're a little better, but you're not what we thought they were, and they're still not what the world may have thought they were. So 49ers, I got them going to the Super Bowl.
All right, and then my Super Bowl prediction, which I had to ride with it. This was my prediction from like week 2 of the season.
Really? I ran into a similar problem.
I've got the Ravens against the 49ers. Literally could go either way here. I think this will be a great game. But storyline-wise, I think the 49ers are like, you just kicked the shit out of us.
No.
We're going to come out with the best game plan possible, and they're gonna get the win. I think it'll be like a 31-24 type of game. 49ers get a Super Bowl win.
Nice. I, of course, have the Bills and the 49ers. 49ers, I think, are the better all-around team. But I got to tell you something. When the Bills were 5-4, which the AFC, man, you can only lose so many games. And you can kind of get a trend of this by the way I've been talking about them. But they just lost to the Bengals. They were 5-4, and everybody's like, Bills are done. Like, they've lost their window. They had their chances. Allen's thrown all over the place. He's fucking it up. I said when they were 5-4, I was like, I just got a feeling. I can already fucking see it. They're going to turn it around during the regular season, and then they're going to be that team I know where it's like, all of a sudden, I don't want to play the Bills. And I had them going this far, and I'm going to have them beat the 49ers. I think it's going to be a very similar game to kind of when the Chiefs beat the 49ers. It'll be kind of muck it up. They won't have a lot of great play from the quarterback. As much as I like Brock Purdy, I think it's going to be a muck it up kind of game, and he's going to have like that. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, like threw like 9 passes. It was fucking ridiculous. He's going to get more chances than that, but I don't think it'll be high scoring, and I don't think he will look as dynamic. Brock Purdy in a Super Bowl, I don't see it. Granted, we haven't seen Josh Allen yet, but he's got a little more superstar to him, and I think Josh Allen's not going to look particularly great. I don't even think Mahomes looked particularly great in that Super Bowl win. But he's going to make enough of those like, oh, that's why you have a Josh Allen at quarterback plays. And given the setting, the Super Bowl, and I think the way Super Bowl is that true feel-out game, I think it's going to favor the Bills in that matchup since both these teams are like first come, first serve. And Bills, Josh Allen, more due in this situation if they play for, his legacy. And I think Bills are going to fucking win the Super Bowl, dude. Rolling with it.
Man, and that's crazy because, like you said, so many people are writing them off, and I do remember defending them. I was like, no, the Bills are legit.
They're going to figure it out.
They'll get back hot. They'll make the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make a run, which I've got them going to the conference championship. I just think they run into a stout defense with the Ravens, but
like
I wouldn't be shocked.
I would actually pick Ravens in that matchup. I just really think, for whatever reason, I just think Ravens against the Browns just has upset all over it.
Yeah, so a couple points just we can kind of talk about. One thing that I don't like looking at my playoffs is I pretty much went chalk like the whole way.
Yeah.
And that never fucking happens in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The only upsets I don't really think you can call upsets. I have the Eagles beating the Bucks. I don't think anyone would call that an upset, but it's a 5 seed beating a 4. And then I have the Browns beating the Texans. Again, I don't think anyone would call that an upset. So just looking at how I've picked it out, I'm like, fuck, none of this is going to happen at all. Yeah. There are going to be upsets, but that's essentially what I picked.
Think about mine. That Browns over Texans, that's same type of thing. Chiefs over Miami, that's not. Bills over Steelers, that's not.
Here's the seeding.
Browns over Ravens, that's a big upset. Bills over Chiefs, that's not an upset. And
you had the Rams over the Lions, that's a 6 over 3.
Yeah, that's an upset. Eagles over Bucks is upset.
Eagles over Cowboys you had too, didn't you?
Yeah, that's an upset.
And other than that,
I think, but so I actually do have some upsets in there. And then the Super Bowl, too, Bills over 49ers would be an upset. So I actually have a lot. See, dude, you got to pick more upsets.
Yeah, I know. Looking at it, I'm like, fuck, I kind of want
to damn it,
take,
give me your bracket, actually. I don't hate those picks.
I kind of want to take, like, the Packers first round versus the Cowboys because that would be the most legit Cowboy thing to do, but I'm not going to do that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and putting you on the spot, I'm putting myself on the spot too here.
Oh, God.
Neither of our teams are in the playoffs.
Let's not even talk about it. That's it for the show.
What teams are you rooting for the most? Whether it's storyline, whether it's that's your second favorite team, what are the teams you're rooting for the most? Because for me, the number one team would be the Ravens. Ravens are my second favorite team. Lamar Jackson, I'm a Louisville fan, so been following him. So the Ravens have got to be the team I'm rooting for the most. Outside of that, I think it would have to be the Bills. I would love to see that Bills storyline. Yes. I was kind of like you, one of the ones defending them. They're not done. They're still going to be in this hunt. I am a huge 49ers fan, too. I really love their team and what they've done there. So I'm rooting for the 49ers as well. And then for storyline purposes, the Browns.
Yeah.
Dude, could you imagine if Joe Flacco wins a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Like, what?
I mean, dude, there's really like...
He would win Comeback Player of the Year.
Oh, for sure,
if he can get a Super Bowl win.
All those DeMar Hamlin memes and shit. No, that shit's crazy. It's like came back from
the
death.
dead.
Came back. Yeah. Dude, it's tough, man. I'd love to see the Browns alone without Joe Flacco. I'd love to see. Lions, same thing. And they didn't go too far, I guess, overall, if you combined ours together in terms of like our how we ranked all this or like who we had going to the Super Bowl. But on paper, the Lions and Browns is a definitely like feasible matchup that we could see.
Dude, could you imagine
in the
that
Super Bowl?
Super Bowl?
Imagine somebody saying that 5 years ago. Like, dude, Browns and Lions in 5 years in the Super Bowl, book it. Like, man, shut the fuck up. You're drunk. I mean, we're at a sports bar. Yeah, dude, and Joe Flacco's coming back to lead the Browns, and you're like, what the fuck? And Jared Goff's gonna ball. That might have been when Jared Goff had his like rookie year where he was terrible. Like, Jared Goff's gonna be on the Lions, and he's gonna be killing it. He just threw 20 picks this year. And Flacco, he just fell off. Yeah, just insane storyline. Just shows you kids, like, you never know when your time's done. And
don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah, when you least expect it 5 years from now, everything can fucking change. The fucking Lions and Browns are the definition of that. Them two, obviously. Bills, because I'm a big Josh Allen fan, and I try my hardest not to be biased. But I just have this gut feeling with this. Maybe there is some bias there. But honestly, like, my third favorite team is actually the Texans, and I have them losing in the first round. My first favorite team by a mile. Like, it's not even close. My favorite team ever is the fucking Panthers. They're not fucking here. I wanted C.J. Stroud
to win a Super Bowl.
And then, yeah, but I'm not bitter, though. I love the Texans. I love C.J. Stroud still. I want them to ball. Maybe Bryce will do better in a second year. So I can't be too bitter. And then, you know, the other teams I really like follow are the Jaguars for whatever reason. It's like, man, you like some shit teams. I know. And I love the Chargers, actually, too. They're in that mix. Those are like the four teams like I kind of care about.
Dude, I've always liked the Texans, too, because they've always seemed like the underdog. Even when they're good, they just seem like the underdog.
Browns, too, a little bit, because I've had a soft spot, I think, as like a Cleveland Cavalier fan. I'm not from Cleveland, but I felt like that pain of just bad seasons, so it kind of like crosses over in some weird way. So I like to see the Browns do good. But I mean, there's all types of teams like that, man. There's very few teams I hate, and
that's what I was gonna.
Even the teams I normally don't like, I kind of like them this year for whatever reason.
I was gonna say it'd probably be quicker for me to list the teams I don't want to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, who would I not like to see win a Super Bowl here?
Sure.
Yeah, the Cowboys. That's it. No, I don't want to see Eagles win.
And I don't think I want to see the Eagles or Bucks win. Every other team I could get behind.
Dude,
the Steelers. I don't want the Steelers.
I don't want Steelers to win either. But this is gonna sound fucking blasphemous because I was just rooting for us to ruin their season. But I wouldn't mind the Bucks winning just because of Baker, dude. And then the comeback, I would eventually. There'd be no way if they win like 2 straight games in the conference finals. I'm like, goddamn, why am I on board with this? I hate the Bucks. You hear me? If you could look at me right now, you would see I fucking hate the Bucks. And even after saying that, fuck the Bucks. What am I talking about? I'm on the Kool-Aid, but. Just the underdog loving me like we all love. It'd be kind of cool to see, but...
who's your Super Bowl MVP?
Josh Allen. I think it's his time to shine. That's the biggest reason I'm choosing him. I think he's going to pull through.
It's generally a quarterback, and that's what makes, for me, it's so tough. Because is it going to be Brock Purdy, or does CMC show out?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Give it to a running back.
I want to see the Niners win because of CMC.
And I think I'm going to give it to CMC.
I would.
He goes in, or not into Baltimore.
He would be the difference maker if they won.
Against
he would
Baltimore,
have his hand in it.
I think he puts up like 200 total yards, 120 rushing, 80 receiving, and has like 3 touchdowns and carries them on his back essentially.
Against that stout-ass defense.
Against the stout-ass defense, yeah. All right, you got anything else you want to talk about?
Not really, man. I think we're about at like an hour.
An hour?
I know. We haven't been on camera in a while. All that good shit. Camera might even be about to die. That would suck.
Well,
it's the price I pay for having this nice-ass camera. It's got a shelf life, I guess. But, yeah, man, it's good to talk some sports, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck.
Can't wait for these playoffs. They're going to go down, I think, in the books as one of the best playoff years in recent memory for sure.
What's sad though is it seems like usually when you expect it to go down, that's when it's like the dullest playoffs ever. And then
there's just so many storylines the first round and potential storylines for the next round. Like
it's all over the place.
Yeah, I just think I can't remember the last playoffs where it's like McCarthy Bowl. We got the Tyreek Hill Bowl. We could have the Flacco Bowl. And then we didn't even mention like with the McCarthy Bowl, the Des Bryant catch or not a catch, that was against the Packers.
Was it? I couldn't remember. Yeah, it was.
When he
wasn't it?
had,
No,
yeah,
I know the
ball
catch
hit-
for sure.
Yeah, like,
the reach
that was
out.
against the Packers.
That was back when we really gave a shit. Survive the ground. That
that's-
was the rule. You got to survive the
There's
ground.
so many like littler storylines like that
Oh,
I remember seeing and don't have on deck right
Jericho
now. but-
Cotchery got hit with that in the Super Bowl, and the next play, Cam Newton fumbled in the end zone, and they scored a touchdown, the Broncos, in 2015. So survive the ground lives very
Deshaun
rent
Watson
free in
Bowl?
my head.
Deshaun Watson Bowl.
Hey, he's on the bench clapping, maybe getting a hand job. So
Like there's so many
Yeah.
storylines. I cannot wait for these playoffs. Let's go.
let's
let's
go.
go.
Where are we going? Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh my God,
see
we're
you
gonna wait
guys
till
later.
an hour? No, we're
Hopefully
not.
you'll see us.
Yeah, dude. At some point. Not right now, of course. But deuces. Love you guys. Like, share, subscribe. Sorry for the random content. But if you know me, I love sports. Hope y'all like this shit too. And any of you random people, this is normally a movie channel, but been thinking about having a sports show here soon. So maybe on this channel or somewhere separate. So maybe, just maybe be in tune for that. I love you guys. And at this point, you know what? I will go the full fucking hour. Best believe that. Love you guys.